Hey, so I wanted to record this and go over some of the stuff I've been finding in your account. And it's one thing to write it down and point it out, but it's another thing to kind of actually show you. Because obviously, I think one of the things you're trying to get out of this is you're managing your own account. So you'd probably just like a little more expertise as far as what you should be looking at and how to navigate inside of here. So I'm just going to show you my little routine of the first things I check. And I'm going to, I got the big cursor here, not because I'm over 30, just turned 35, but because it actually helps visuals here. So the first thing I'm going to do when I come to a new ad campaign, let's see, if you click campaign performance, it usually kicks you all the way back out. And I actually set this to all time right now. Because one of the things you were saying is that you used to get really good results and now you don't. So I wanted to look at like your historical spend, where your conversions were coming from. Let me clear that because I'll show you that too. Where your conversions were coming from before, and what that campaign looked like, and then compare it to what we're seeing now. But we'll get there. The first thing that I wanted to show you is when I check these ads accounts, I usually check the insights tag. And the reason I check the insights tag is because to me, marketing in general, but also just specifically LinkedIn, is too simple. I mean, it gets more complex, but the two simple things is you run cold ads, whatever it may be, and they drive some conversions. Yes, cool. And then they drive clicks to the website that show interest, or lead gem forms opened but not submitted that show interest. So yes, we can optimize this cold campaign. It looks like what you're running is just a campaign to a cold audience. We can optimize that to get more conversions and see what's wrong. But then the biggest opportunity I see missed is that if you're not doing this part, if you don't have everything set up, then you're not able to retarget them. And the retargeting is usually worth 2 to 3 times as many conversions happen, and you get more bang for your buck. So yes, we're going to optimize this cold, but I'm also going to really dig into the retargeting side as well for your long term. So the first thing I see is that this insights tag hasn't fired for 4 weeks. And it looks, just based on my limited research, that maybe you had an old website set up and it's now redirecting to your new website, which is skyhomes.com. So what I would do is, I believe that you don't have the LinkedIn Insights tag on this new landing page, on this new website. So that would be step one. And then once you put it on there, and I assume you did it yourself before, all you have to do in order to set that up is Insights tag. I guess you're already there. Manage the Insights tag, see the tag, and then you can get the instructions. If it's the developer, you can email it to them. But basically, you just find on most of these websites, you can go to the admin and you can open up your global footer and you just paste this in there and it tells you like where to put it. Once it's in there, you should be able to come back here and it should show your new domain that it's live. So the second thing I look at is conversions. Are we tracking? So I am actually going to delete this for you. Website visitor is not something that you need to track. Every single campaign we run, it will track the amount of links that we get, or the clicks that we get. So website visits is not an additional thing that we need to track. And on top of that, it's not a conversion. To me, a conversion is like an actual action that our prospects take. And clicking is, but it's actually automatically tracked in all of them. So the main things that we actually want to track are like moving down the pipeline. Did they fill out a form that showed interest? And that's usually your contact us, like on your website. At the bottom of this, they fill this out, and that should be a conversion. And then, so that's like the basis right there. And that's what you had here, and you had it set up. If you click it, you had it set up with its own little, looks like a Google Analytics pixel. So what I would say is that these can have so many different errors and times that they break, that it is usually better to just go with a simple URL tracking. And what that means is that, and I did a test here and it doesn't send them anywhere else. So when someone hits the submit button, almost every single form capture, website, whatever, it should give you an option that says redirect URL or final URL destination. So when they actually hit submit, you should have the ability to send them somewhere else. So what I've done on any landing page that I work with is so I see that when you do this, they fill this out and they actually just remain here. Ideally, you would have a very simple thank you page that you send them to that has like this, and then it would say whatever, thank you, and it would send them to that page and say your form has been submitted and give them the next steps. Like it could literally be super simple, take you 10 minutes to make or whatever. And usually the sole purpose of that for me, from a marketing point of view, is it gives me something to track. So if you set up that Google Analytics pixel on the original one and you feel comfortable setting that up again for this one, put your LinkedIn Insights tag on here, set that up. But that's really important to track, because if we don't have conversion tracking, LinkedIn won't be able to optimize your campaign effectively. So part of the reason that, when your last campaign started getting going and it had 5 or 6 conversions, LinkedIn started saying, oh, okay, now I kind of understand these are the types of people that are more likely to be interested, to be motivated, to want to fill out a contact me now form. And it starts taking that information and putting it in front of them. So without the insights tag and without proper conversion tracking, you're not getting that. If you don't want to build a whole new landing page, here is a nice tip. You can still, hopefully, with all this, you can pick a new target destination for the submit, but you could actually leave it on this page, but put a question mark and then thank you there. So what it will do is it will then send them to this same page, but so you didn't have to create a new thank you page, but it sent them to this page with this little UTM tag at the end, which gives us something to track. So then from the LinkedIn side, we know that anyone on this domain that hits this thank you tag has submitted the form. So that's a little hack without having to create a whole new landing page for it that would let you track conversions. It's actually a really good tip there. So the next thing, so we have the insights tag I go over, the conversion tracking, which to me is big. The third thing is matched audience. So yeah, we're not even getting into the actual campaign yet, because in my mind, there's actually some more important foundational stuff that I want to educate you on and also just put on your radar, because long term, this will have a bigger impact, I think, than the small tweaks we can make to optimizing your current campaign. So the next thing is under assets up here, you can do matched audience. And those are the 3 main things I check up here: insights tag, conversions, matched audience. I usually, most of the clients don't run lead gen forms. I guess it's kind of a mix, maybe like 30 or 40%. But I would say these are the 3 that everyone needs to look at for sure, regardless. So matched audience, and I see it's not set up here. So basically, matched audience is where you create these little buckets of audiences that you can then use in search groups or targeting to then run an ad on. So the easiest, most basic ones, and I'll go ahead and set up a couple of these for you, would be, in my mind, would be website visitor, your main website. And you could do starts with, and you put the HTTPS and everything, or usually I'll just do, contains. So if they visit our main website, if they visit that page that I have the insights tag on, it'll put them in this bucket. And then I can, when I'm creating a campaign, I can say, so initially right now, you're just running, you're picking the position titles, you're picking the geography, and you're putting these ads in front of them. What you should be doing is all of those clicks that we're getting, they visit the website, and then those people that visited the website, those are like digital hand raisers. They visited the website. They can be their own little group that you could run a separate ad on. Even if you're putting the same images, the same ad in front of that group, it's going to be more effective than the first ad because they've already shown some level of interest. And even just staying back in front of them can have a big impact. But normally what you'd want to do is run a different kind of ad and do like success stories, testimonials, things to like build trust and credibility, make them comfortable enough to jump back in and start a conversation with you. So you have website visits. The next one is company page. So I don't have the rights to your company page, but essentially it would work the same way. You could say, it makes it really easy to set it up, just like that one. You could basically say, anyone who visits my company page within the last 90 days, I want to target them with this ad. So you put them in their own little bucket. And then the other main one, if you run lead gen forms, which I know you used to run them at one point, is you can actually say, anyone who opened my lead gen form in the last X amount of days, I want to run those ads against them. So you haven't run any of these recently, so there's nothing in here. But and that's really big too, because you could run the lead gen form, and maybe 1 in 10 opens will actually submit. Well, that staying in front of those other 9 people who are curious enough to open it but not committed enough to submit it, a little more warming. That's a warmer audience than the cold one, and they're worth staying in front of. So those 3 are the main audiences that I would say you'd want to create here if you're going that route. And now let's get into the magic of the actual campaign. So what I did is I actually looked at your last campaign. So if we go to here, breakdown, and then you hit conversion, you can actually see the breakdown of the conversion. So I don't really care about these website visits. But if I'm looking at your old campaign and I want to know, what was actually working well, I'm going to look at the one that was creating contact forms. Now, because you have it set up as that pixel, I don't know if it was set up to say they just clicked on the contact me now, or if these are actual submissions. Because ideally you would be tracking like, if they actually submitted it, then they count as a conversion. So I just don't know. But either way, they show more interest than the website visit. So I imagine this is the one that you're talking about as far as, hey, this is more successful. And then again, I can see that this is the one with the spend that had the contact forms. So I click here and I go into manage. And as I'm looking at this, the main things I'm looking at is your audience and then the actual, ads they used. So this is really specific, 42,000. That's a decent little size to run this kind of campaign on. Very specific about your geographic location and your job titles. It looks like you did allow audience expansion, which normally I would not, but on a group that small, letting LinkedIn kind of expand out, I would test it without the expansion first for like a month, and then I would test it maybe separately or after that month with the expansion and see what it brings. And then, so your group is pretty straightforward. And then the big difference too, so I saw your new message and I saw this message. So it won't let me just go in there and edit or look at it. So if I duplicate it, it'll actually let me look at the message you're using. So I don't like the spacing. I would probably space this more. But the actual message and the length, I think this is one of the elements that was working better for you. This is short. This is conversational tone. This is kind of like very, personal, like, hey, I just thought that maybe, I could be of help to you and you could help me. And this is kind of what I do. And if you're curious, here's my site. This feels, based on, my experience, like something that would work decently well, if you're targeting the right group, which looks like you are. So this is a pretty simple, straightforward campaign. So there's not a ton of variables here in this cold layer. So let's go over here and let's look at the last 30 days. Let's see what you're putting your money into now. Oops, maybe. I guess we got to go back out. See what you're putting your money into now and look at optimizing that. Okay, so here's the nationwide one, website visit conversion. All right, so the big thing is, from my perspective here, I honestly just can't even tell how it's doing other than the cost per clicks, because we don't have conversion tracking set up. So I actually can't even tell how many of these clicks translated into form submitters. And LinkedIn also can't see those form submitters in order to optimize. So I can already tell you that, if that other one had 26 form submits and 900, and you have $360 spent here, let's say you have less than 5. I don't know. Let's say you have less than 10. No, you probably have like less than 8. Maybe you have like just 3, 4, or 5. It just those each form submission that it does have, if it has any, isn't able to inform LinkedIn about anything. So it's not going to get better. So normally, like on a normal campaign, you could spend $360 to get. Actually, $360 on a cold campaign, I wouldn't expect any conversions. So the fact that your 900 spend previously got 26, that actually is surprising to me. So I would say that I guess you're getting pretty good price percent. So based on the old one, I would say this should have produced 3 to 4, 3 to 5 conversions. And then normally what would happen is it would learn from that, and then the next $300 spend would increase the number of conversions you could get, and then so on. So by the time you got to 900, that price per conversion is getting lower and lower. But here, without any learning, without any way to optimize, and without any way to track, it's going to continue to waste a lot of money, and it's not going to be like ever something that you can scale. And then the nuts and bolts of this actual one is the audience is expanded a little. So it's I think it's about twice or 2 to 3 times the size of the last one. So it looks like you dialed in there on the geography, and then you expanded out on some of the actual position titles. So I still think this is a pretty tight group. Usually most of the marketing campaigns I run are anywhere from 30,000 to 300,000 audience. So like this falls in line of like a typical campaign. I wouldn't say that it's too big, too small. This is fine. You don't have audience expansion checked, which is fine. I would say that I would leave that off initially until you start getting more data. But I guess it's worth noting your last one. If you're saying your last one did better, it did have that checked. But it also had conversion tracking data. So I don't feel like checking that would do anything for you now, because it just doesn't have information in general. And then, you're trying to track the conversions, but it's not going to track anything for you. And then do the same thing here where I can open up your message. I would say that this just looks, the way it's structured, numbers, bullet points, I like the structure. It looks nice just from, I see what you're trying to do, like give them information and make it simple, and even the spacing. But in these kinds of ads, the idea is for this not to look like a sales pitch. And this looks 100% like, you are selling something, when really, your offer is actually pretty sweet. And the people you're reaching out to, like, it's mutually beneficial. So I do think one of the really great things you did on that initial campaign was that you had a shorter, conversational, kind of less professional, polished approach. But I think that resonated with people because, in the end, like, you're just messaging human beings who are trying to make a living. You're trying to make some extra money. And if you guys can help each other and both make extra money, and they don't think you're a terrible human being and hate working with you, like, that's usually how this stuff happens. You don't have to put it into a structured, I almost think this got too polished and too professional, and that it kind of backfired a little bit. So that would be my main comment. I don't think anything drastically changed or got worse on the audience or the ad format or any of this stuff. I think the biggest factor is that it's not able to learn because we don't have the insights tag and we don't have conversion tracking. So it's not even able to optimize for like clicks to the landing page. And then it's not able to optimize for the actions that these people are taking on the landing page. So getting the insights tag on your website is probably the number one thing that you need to do in order to prove this. The second one is getting your conversion tracking set up. And then the third would be to maybe switch that message to something a little closer to what you had before, where it was shorter and conversational, and just felt a little more natural. And then the fourth thing that would be really huge is that once your insights tag is on there and all these clicks are now getting tracked and being collected in your website visitor audience is to have a couple of ads that then target that group that has visited your website, get back in front of them, and you'll have much higher conversion rates on that group. And with that group, you could do like a separate message, like maybe even acknowledging that they visited the website and, hey, I noticed you visited the website, but I didn't, hear from you yet. You could try something like that, or you could just put like image and text, like a normal ad, and stick it in front of them, make sure they see it, and try to encourage them to like book the call. So that would be the main things I see here. A lot of room for opportunity, but the great news is like a lot of this is low hanging fruit. A couple of quick changes should be able to see drastic improvement on this with, your next $200 or $300 spend. So that's really encouraging. Hope this is helpful.